Allahu Akbar,
Cairo, Egypt has some of the most beautiful mosques in the world, and that's one of the reasons we use several of them at the beginning of the series, because they so beautifully show how architecture can be used to glorify God. This is the beautiful mosque of Sultan Hassan in Cairo. It's known for its monumental dimensions and opulent decoration, much of it carried out by craftsmen who were brought from Syria and Iran. Often when filming these mosques, we put a human figure in the shot in order to give it scale, to show how grand the place is. Here we're using a jib and a very wide lens to take in this whole tremendous space. The open courtyard here has many hanging lamps, quite beautiful, opening to the sky. This is the Mosque of Ibn Tulun. It's a much older construction. The spiral minaret was actually modeled on one from Iraq in Samarra. We can see here the simplicity, the geometric simplicity in this shot taken from the minaret. This is a minbar, which serves as a pulpit would in a Christian church. You can see the grand scale of the architecture here in the Ibn Tulun Mosque, here back in Sultan Hassan. Arabic calligraphy was an important decorative element, often in gold, as we see here. In Tunisia, the great water basins in Kairouan were originally Roman. The Muslims restored them and provided running water for the citizens of Kairouan. Here we've placed a camel beside them to give a sense of scale. I think the camel cost us about $7 for the day's rental. Here's the open courtyard of the great Mosque of Kairouan. It's a very early 8th century mosque. Again, very great in scale. The square minaret is probably a remnant from the original 8th century mosque, later rebuilt. This is the great Mosque of Damascus, the earliest surviving monumental mosque in the Islamic world. It was the first mosque to have minarets and was converted from a Christian church of St. John. It became the architectural model for mosques all around the world, and eventually was given a shrine to the head of John the Baptist. Here we're inside the great Suleymaniye Mosque, built for the Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent in the 16th century. The Ottoman architect Sinan's greatest work, really the finest example. Islamic architects really perfected the difficult task of dome building, and the Ottoman mosques had some of the finest domes of all. The domes were often topped off with a beautiful gold ornament, sometimes with the symbolic gold crescents at the very end. Here we see the Hagia Sophia, once a great church, and became a mosque with the conquest of Constantinople by Mehmet, the great Ottoman Sultan. It was originally built by the Byzantine Emperor in the 5th century. Here again, the great architect Sinan used it as a model for the Suleymaniye. The interior spaces are magnificent. It was originally the largest enclosed space in the world. In Syria, there's an example of the early water technology that the Muslims were so adept at. These are huge water wheels which use the power of the river to lift the water, using only the power of the river, over 50 feet to the stone aqueducts above, where it's then, of course, channeled to the fields. This is the beautiful Alhambra in Granada, Spain, the oldest surviving example of a medieval palace. When we see it now in its restored state, it's hard to believe that by the 19th century it had fallen into almost complete ruin and was being inhabited by gypsies. When it was discovered and written about by the American Washington Irving, it became a romantic tourist attraction for Westerners even before it was restored. It's a magnificent example of detail in its fine craftswork. Throughout the Alhambra are gravity-fed fountains and pools, and we find pools like this feeding gardens throughout the Islamic world. The images of greenery and water were very important and are used in the Quran in images of paradise. The Islamic gardens were some of the most beautiful in the world. In Cordoba in Spain, in the center of town, is a great Catholic cathedral with a towering bell spire, which was once a minaret, because the great Catholic cathedral here was actually once a mosque. It was built, as many early mosques were, with ancient Greek and Roman columns salvaged from the ruins around them. Columns were often too short, so that they stacked them one on top of each other and connected them with arches. It almost has the effect of a sheltering forest of trees. We can still see the Romanesque ceiling of the church and arches melding together with the mosque architecture. Dome of the Rock is one of the most beautiful monuments in all of Islam, and it's important to Muslims because it was believed it was from here that Muhammad ascended to heaven after a journey from Mecca on his magic horse, and while in heaven met with all the prophets, including Moses and Jesus, whom he led in prayer before returning to earth and traveling back to Mecca. In Tunisia, the rabats, or fortresses by the sea, are made of stone and brick and were used to protect the inhabitants from Berber pirates and also from Vikings. They were massive stone fortresses, often with a mosque attached, right by the shore of the beautiful Mediterranean. The Palace of 40 Columns in Isfahan, Iran, is one of the most beautiful buildings in Islamic architecture. Actually, it has only 20 columns, but when reflected in its pool, it appears to have 40. It's a great Safavid monument, and once the facade was covered with mirrored tiles. Iran is filled with beautiful mosques and monuments, many covered with beautiful tile work. The Great Mosque of Yazd was built by the Mongols who converted to Islam, and it's covered in the inside and out with ceramic tile with interlocking designs. Here we can see the indentation on the wall, which is called a mihrab, which points towards Mecca and gives those who are praying there a direction in which to direct their prayers. Here we can see how intricate and beautiful this interlocking tile work is. The decoration is just fabulous. This is a prayer hall, also a Mongol mosque, built for the ruler Ujaitu. It contains a beautiful carved wooden minbar and a mihrab. Minbar, of course, is like a pulpit in a Christian church. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. In Isfahan, also in Iran, is the beautiful mosque of Sheikh Lutfallah. Again, beautifully covered in tile work. Two of its most outstanding features are the surface pattern and colored tiles, which come to full flower in the 16th and 17th century, and the quality of light which comes in through the double grills around the dome is very beautiful. Here we've added some smoke to the interior of the space so that we can accentuate the shafts of sunlight.